Welcome to another War of Rights map briefing. This one is not an ironic or a sarcastic one, but I'm actually going to do the map briefing for river crossing. I know it seems a little silly, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. It's just the way I've chosen to roll here. So this is a CSA attacking map, right? Harper's Ferry, so we get a number of those. The CSA spawn is over there. The CSA has a number of batteries. The first is actually a small 2-gun battery right here. You can see those are both Napoleons and their caissons. There's another 2-gun battery over here where some Union at the beginning of the game initially spawn. There are then 2 other Union battery, or CSA batteries, I'm sorry. One is right there, and the other is up in those hills. I think this is French, and I think we just saw Manly before that. So they have eyes on. Yeah, that looks about what I remember. So there are a number of batteries that are available to the CSA. Remember, the officers from these two can also get into melee and close range if they have to. So there are 2 point of contention, just so we understand why it's called river crossing. yes, because the attackers have to cross the river. Yeah, and they have to get to this point of contention here. And the defenders, while we're here, the Union has some artillery. It has 2 guns. They certainly have the benefit of having their guns begin where they could probably be quite useful. And the goal is, of course, to get in here through the CSA and to cap that point while the Union is in breaking. So the railroad bridge, right? There are 2 lanes. These are quite narrow to move through, or 2. There's a track, and then there's a non-track part of the bridge. And yeah, you can come on over that way across the bridge. You could also veer off to the right there if you wanted. But that's the bridge push. The other is the pontoon crossing, so you can see all the boats there, and then the pontoon that goes through and up there. That's John Brown's fort there, if you're familiar with some of the pre-Civil War stuff. And the point of contention is right there. So this is known as a terrible attacking map, right? The CSA has them. The Union has them too, right? Things like Hatch's attack. But this is a rough one for the CSA, particularly in pubs. I would say it's not unwinnable, but it is a challenge. I'm not saying this because of my usual arty bias. It's one that I think CSA arty can make the difference. And so we worked a bit on this in some organized play. This 2-gun battery is well suited for lining up. You don't have to go far. You could just move them up here. As long as you have some eyes into the part under the bridge at the end of the pontoon crossing. We can talk about why that is. Or if you want something a little bit more straight on, even to hit John Brown's fort, you could move them all the way down here if you chose to. And from either of those positions, not only can you hit the end of the pontoon, but you can also hit, we'll talk about where the defenders frequently hold up, and they have a kind of, almost anything here can be turned into a fort. I mean, many times the Union will just stand out here on these railings, maybe in skirmish formation, maybe just loose formation, but still in formation, and they'll take pot shots, particularly if the CSA has decided to come down the pontoon. I'm of the mind that the pontoon has always been the less good option, but that's just me. Because it's just, there's no cover coming in, and you can be shot from the left, from the right. You can be shot from above as you get through the fort. The Union can hide up in here. We're almost at the map boundary. Yeah, so there we go. But the Union can be in this building, John Brown's fort. The door is open there, and so you can open and close. The Union could stack up, open the doors. They could shoot down there. Frequently, the Union will tuck themselves in back here. They'll have scouts look. When you're crossing, there's not going to be any cover. And the Union will come around here, and they'll either volley you, or they'll just independent fire would probably work as well. And you're going to lose a lot of folks if you're the CSA crossing before you ever get in here. There is an argument on the CSA side that if you make it in here, and you get all the flags and the way flag respawns work, and you're able maybe even to push up a little bit, that it's worth taking, and then you can use this as a launching point to cap point. The Union are frequently going to be spawning. I'm trying to remember Union spawn. I think it's around here. It's not at all far from the point. And all right, so that's the argument for pushing the pontoon. CSA already can hit it from the back. And by the way, battery French, if that's the name of the one that's up there, you can also get the ranges here. And as long as your officer is watching them like a hawk, and you have the ranges and the elevations and everything timed out, if the Union comes up for volley, you can probably get, I think we've gotten 2 or 3 guns that can get keyed in on this position, and that can make jelly out of a Union line, or more likely it'll probably kill one person and knock a few down. But you can use artillery from at least 2 batteries to support a push over the pontoon. It's a personal preference thing. I don't think it's quite as good, but that's one of the ways. And the other way is, it's pushing over the railroad bridge, the bridge, as opposed to the pontoon. Here, well, first, why it's a death trap. Remember the Union artillery at the end of this road. At long range, they can fire shell and case. Closer range, they can fire canister. There's only so many times they can fire canister. I know, I get it. Also, the Union has apparently found out that the pointing sticks they're holding also shoot bullets. And so they will shoot you, and shoot you for a long time coming down that bridge. I think you can get at least two easy reloads in, assuming the CSA is mostly double quicking it down that bridge. So that's one place to hold. The stone fort, if you hear people talk about the fort, they're talking about this kind of V-shaped area. It's great, right? Because you can see and shoot lots of things, and it can be hit by artillery, right? So both the low-lying batteries can hit this, as well as I think both Manly and French can get angles on this stone wall, at least parts of it. They can make it rough. You can hide behind the brick building. And why am I not seeing the angle on? Okay, so here it is. The Union can also get down here, hide underneath this area. I think they'll be able to squeeze through here. If not, they can just squeeze around the building. So if the CSA, or when the CSA makes it over, whoever's left, the Union can come out of the hidey holes and just obliterate them. So there's that as an option. I was a fan of this as a spot for the Union, right? In parts here, you can almost get angles if you're not friendly firing your artillery. But if not, as the Union, you can get a big group back here. There's a safe route, pretty safe route, I believe, from Union spawn. Nice to put flags back here, spawn people in, and this way you don't have everybody up, because this fort is pretty easy to render in for artillery guys long ways away. And so if those have been taking a pounding, you wait till that happens, and then you hop out of that backyard and you just obliterate anybody coming down the rail fence. The counterplay to that, we found, is that those 2 CSA guns, if you move them up a bit, you invest some time in the beginning of the map, you can get angles. If you know the ranges and the fuse times, you can get air bursts on this position. You can whack rounds into the side of that house if that just makes you feel better. But if you're going for kills, you can hit it from that 2-gun battery there. And I believe there's at least one position we can carve out in French that can hit the backyard. It's probably, it was almost asking too much for organized play, so it's probably certainly asking too much of hub play. But my general advice to the CSA attacking on this, because there's only 2 options, and neither of them are great, and the deep water wading stuff isn't really going to help you. It's too deep. Is to get as many guns as you can from Manly, from French. You can get at least 1, and I think 2 from Manly, and at least 1 from French. Get those aimed in here. If you can get an additional 1 or 2 guns aimed up for the Stonewall fort, and then use those guns, it's hard to land a shot unless you're going to airburst it, and then those 2 guns, you could have 1 airburst here and 1 you could have ranged up to airburst back here. But my general advice was to just concentrate, send everybody, all 4 companies, all the flags at the back, and then just have your arty focus on pretty much the area that is my screen. Don't shoot all at once, right? Shoot once every, again, I'm asking a lot, but if you can alternate the shots, that way it's harder for the Union to time, all right, well, arty fired, whatever, now we're going to get out. But if you can string those shots out and understand that you got to cover a pretty lengthy amount of time to get here, I think it's the best chance in a situation where there are bad chances. In timing it, it took about 10 minutes to get all the guns aimed up for this position. But from the 4 different batteries, if you have folks who know what they're doing at each, it seems like it takes about 10 minutes. And the CSA infantry, they got to know if there is already at least some guys who are willing to go along with this, CSA infantry is going to have to stall a little bit. And so the CSA can stall. They play at range. You don't want to be doing a lot of range trading at this distance. It's largely a pillow fight. And if it's not a pillow fight, it's a net loss of CSA tickets. Some folks are worried like, oh, it's been 10 minutes. We haven't attacked something. This is a problem. Remember that once the arty is in position, both sides' tickets should go down very quickly. So it should be group up, press down, make it as bloody as possible, try to draw the Union out. Even if they're in hard cover, artillery can work around and through that to some degree and do the best you can. Don't lose your flags, right? So you should have your most experienced COs, I think, or NCOs on flag. Make sure those are out and pull back, and also plan that it's a long way back, and so you don't want to wait until it's the last 4 guys picking up the flags and running back, right? When you know you're wiped, it's time to turn around and bring back a group, maybe 15 guys. You're going to be spawning people in along the way. I know that, but it's not really going to help you to cap and hold this. Right? Capping and holding is it's probably not going to work. I haven't seen it work, but in war of rights, in the right circumstances, anything can work. But the goal here is to simply just get the Union close to breaking, and then maybe on the last charge, as we hear the timer goes off, this is a good time to wrap this video. Maybe on the last charge or two, you'll finally break them and cap while they're in breaking, or just kill them through to last stand. But my guess is that even if you wait 10 minutes as the CSA to begin that push, you're not going to go full time on the black timer. What's really going to end the round is when you go final push. And so keep the pressure on after you've built everything up and you've got it in order. Don't lose tickets trying to kill the Union at range early on. Preserve tickets. You can do some light skirmishing, but you're going to need those tickets for those railroad pushes at the end. So once again, I think concentration is my recommendation. Concentration against dispersion, I think it's hard on this map. And so I think it's just got to be an all-out push to concentrate better than the other side. All right, that's going to be it for river crossing.